because the SAVE Act is back in the news. It's an act that was passed by the House of Representatives, but is dead on arrival in the Senate. The Democrats will not let it get past the Senate. It is a bill that says that the name on your ID has to match the name on your birth certificate. Otherwise, you could be excluded from voting. Since that bill is back in the news, the conversation about voter ID laws are back in the news. And since the conversation about voter ID laws is back in the news, we once again have people on the right wing in this country coming forth saying that anybody who says that voter ID laws disproportionately disenfranchise people of color are saying that people of color are too stupid to get IDs. Like this human boil.
I don't think I'll ever understand the demented mind of a liberal. I saw Chuck Schumer trying to argue that having a voter ID would negatively affect minorities. Well, what he's really saying in his racist little mind is that black people are either too poor or too stupid to get an ID to vote. And that's not true. It's just really, really racist. Then a few years ago, I remember Nancy Pelosi saying that we need minorities to pick our crops because who else is going to do it? And what that means in her little racist mind is picking crops is way below us Americans, and we need some poor, stupid people to do it, like those Hispanics. And then you have to wonder, how do they get away with saying stuff like this and then calling us racists? And it's because liberals are racists, and they vote for other racists. That's just how it works. That's why liberals exist. But in their simple little minds, they think they're being benevolent by treating the lesser people better.
By treating the lesser people better? Interesting way that you phrase that. Also interesting that you call the opposing side racist while wearing the hat of a man who just posted a video image of Michelle and Barack Obama as jungle apes. But let's get into it. Do you see white people lining up to take these jobs on farms? I mean, we see ICE going into these farms. We're going to deal with that first, and then we're going to deal with the voter ID law second. Do you see white people lining up to take these jobs of these people who are being deported off of these farms? You see white people lining up to take jobs in landscape companies? I know I worked in landscaping for 26 years. And before I started my own company, I worked for multi-million-dollar landscape companies here in the Chicagoland area that had hundreds of undocumented immigrants working for them because white guys wouldn't do the work. That's what Nancy Pelosi was telling you. White guys won't do it. American-born Hispanic guys won't do it. But go on and tell me how it's racist to state a fact that Americans won't fill these jobs. And as far as voter ID laws, you say it's racist to say it's going to disproportionately disenfranchise people of color. So you're telling me that the NAACP is racist? Because they have opposed voter ID laws for years. And why? Because voter ID laws are a burden to people of color. More than 21 million Americans do not have government-issued photo identification. Even if ID is offered for free, there are a lot of other costs that go with it, like the cost to pay for the documentation you need to get the ID, the travel cost to get to a place where you can get the documents and the ID, as well as the time off of work. The travel requirements alone are major burdens to people with disabilities, the elderly people, people in rural areas, or people that without access to a car or public transportation. In Texas, some people in rural areas must travel approximately 170 miles to reach the nearest ID office. Now let's talk about the minority aspect. In 2013, the Supreme Court struck down a major provision of the Voting Rights Act in Shelby County v. Holder that required states and local governments to get federal approval before changing voting laws. These provisions were in place to stop racially discriminatory laws from being passed at the state level to curtail voting rights. Just 2 hours after the Supreme Court decision, the state of Texas passed the first version of the new ID law, which allowed citizens to vote with a concealed carry gun permit, but not with a student ID card. As of this writing, 34 states have voter ID laws on the books, and 20 of those states require government issue IDs with limited or no alternatives. Much like poll taxes and literacy tests of the Jim Crow days, these laws are created to prevent specifically targeted populations from voting. Voter ID laws target eligible voters who are less likely to have IDs. In reality, this means the laws suppress the vote from elderly, low income, and voters of color, because those are the people most likely to not have an ID. We have been through this a million times in the past. I have been doing this exact video for the past 6 years on social media. Voter ID laws disenfranchise older people, poor people, people of color, and students. That is a fact. The NAACP recognizes this fact. And for you to call that fact racist shows you're too, with all due respect, fucking stupid to grasp the concept.